2, 1, and we're live. Hello all, welcome back to the Invictus stream. My name, as always, is Mr. Harlan Guthrie. I am here with the GM, Mr. Chris Viseau.
I don't know what you said. Hello.
I said I'm here with you. Just give us a wave and a kiss. I am here with Mr. Louis Verville, Justin Thomas James.
Yo.
I am here with Mr. Buddy Jacks, a.k.a. the Mikester.
Hey, welcome back.
And Alex has been forcibly removed from the building by his butt and his back and thrown. No, here he is. And I am here with my brother, Alex.
You can't hear us.
Who might not be able to hear us right now.
This might be a really good post-stream discussion if Alex can't hear us. Hey, Alex. Oh, no sound. Sorry, buddy. All right, so thank you all for hanging out with us. This is the part of the campaign where we like to kind of chill a little bit, talk about, you know, what this was all about, and kind of answer all the questions and all that kind of stuff about the 10-part campaign we just completed. But first and foremost, new to this, I guess this episode or this part, is we're going to start off with the mid-game post from last game. So we're going to be announcing the winners for that. So I have the post here. I'm going to read off the winners with a bit of a drum roll. It's working. Perfect. First, second, and third place go to John Regan, Michael Carl Weber, and Godpool Gryffindor. Which is forever going to be his name.
Thorgerson.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to bother.
Like
and then to the 20th, which I always need to sort of refresh because it's too tough. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 is Mr. Bob Lyle. What was that? Who said something?
Bob Loblaw.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Excellent. Thank you.
All righty. I'm posting this again so that people can join this group and that we can get to the question and answer period and all that kind of stuff. Great game, guys. I had a lot of fun.
Me too. Thank you.
Sorry if I seemed out of it. I didn't think I felt out of it, but
it happens. It's your last game for a while.
Yeah, it happens. It's your last game for a while, Alex.
but the thing is, I don't feel like that. I feel like I was being respectful of everybody's time. To be fair, I that's how I honestly feel. I honestly feel like I was just being respectful of everybody's time.
Well, you know what I feel right now? I feel a weight has been lifted off me as I almost feel feather light as I'm no longer need to be the GM. Next week, I can just role play as one character.
Well,
that's right.
You have to be the GM for a little bit longer while you're answering all these questions.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. Then I'll hang on to this for a little bit longer.
There's a little longer.
I don't know if this was what you wanted, Harlan, but here is some of the questions.
I'm going to read them off. I'm going to read them off, Alex. This is my favorite part of the entire post-game discussion. I like playing host. It's the one thing I do. I muted you because I want to read the questions. I did the post. I read the questions.
All right.
I will throw you the good ones.
Good one.
Not the good ones.
Good.
All right. Let's start off the questions because this is what I want to do. The first question is from our very good friend and community manager, Mr. Chris Lawrence, and he wants to ask us what was each.
Chris. Wait, before we go on to the questions, let's just give a big round.
What was Alex saying about not wanting to interrupt the? I can't remember what he was saying. Something about respecting and totally not giving anybody.
It's so the community stream. Come on, come on. Let's give a little bit of applause for him for doing that community stream. Come on. It's deserved.
I'm giving that for Chris and not for you. Anyway, so Chris's question is, what was each of your favorite and least favorite parts of playing your character?
Question to whom? To everyone else, I guess.
Everybody, yeah. I guess. I'm sorry, Chris, but you have to sit this one out, unfortunately.
I'm fine with that. That's good.
So Justin, why don't you start with your favorite and least favorite parts?
I think Lewis grew on me a bit as I played him, and we've talked about this before, playing characters that you like to play. I do like to play more charismatic characters. And especially at the beginning of this campaign, I found that Lewis was, I wasn't sure who he was. I didn't know if he was timid. He was kind of afraid of germs. He didn't really make decisions. He always went through Carver. And he kind of took like a passive back seat, which felt kind of weird in a role-playing game. But as the campaign went on, he, I guess, kind of grew into himself a little bit more, and I got to understand him a little bit better. So I'd say just those first few sessions of ambiguity and not really knowing was difficult for me.
That's fair. Mikey, what about you?
I think my favorite part of the character was it actually started from a quote that I had read, had nothing to do with Deadlands, and it was simply call a jack, call a spade, but never always call a whore a lady because their lives are already hard enough. And that's that's when I decided that he would have been raised into the brothel, but not he didn't grow up treating women the way he saw the male role models in his life treat women, and he wanted to rise above it and become something bigger than he was at the start.
That's a pretty deep reasoning. You put a lot more thought into your character than I expected.
No, I actually just pulled that answer out of my ass right now.
So you felt that respecting and treating women with this mentality was a difficult challenge for you?
Yeah, no, it's always a challenge for me to treat women as, like, first I forget that they're actually human.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Joking, everybody, before you get all Alex, what about you? What was what was your favorite and least favorite part about playing Lacy?
Least favorite part was the fact that he was a crazy person.
What was your least favorite?
That was my least favorite part.
You wanted to play someone more...
Yeah, I was going to say, you're sure that was your least favorite part? You're using that right?
Yes. And I will say that was also my favorite part. And that is the insane part about it, is that this was a very difficult role for me to play because I was consistently trying to play something that is not me. I'm not an insane person, but...
Only an insane person would say that.
Obviously, somebody that, you know, I do like the idea of being, you know, way out there, off the wall, kind of this other character, but to enact this person, and it was like this screwdriver in the back of my mind that was like, you know what, yeah, crank it up. At this other point, crank it up, you know, and constantly it was like, you know, here I am, a normal person, but crank it up all of a sudden and try to be someone who's a little bit not necessarily, you know, just a normal person.
Fair enough. And my least favorite and favorite parts were, I obviously loved playing the talkative characters. I really loved, my favorite scene was talking down in the first episode, Stanton, when I was talking to him at the fire. I always love those types of things. And there's a few times speaking to the town I love. So I love that aspect of all the characters I play. Least favorite was something I've addressed before, actually, and it's no one's fault, but I wanted to play a lot of a crazier character, and Justin and I both sort of conceded to this, that we wanted to be more zany sort of characters in this campaign. That was our intention, but it turned out that I think I had to play this character more level-headed than I had wished, purely because Chris's story was great and had a lot of ends that needed to be followed. And with two zany characters, I find sometimes it's tough to follow leads and kind of get a good grasp on things.
C. Gennaro, for example.
Prime example. C. Gennaro is a great example of do not give a fuck and do whatever. And that's totally fine for games like that. But campaigns, I'm curious about stuff. Next question comes from Aisha, I believe, and it is, how difficult, and this is, I guess, more to Chris, how difficult was it to do the flashback episodes, i.e. was there a lot of preparation involved? And since the audience seemed to like them so much, would you consider putting deliberate flashback episodes in your games, or save them only for when someone has to be absent?
Okay, I'll answer that in parts because there's multiple parts.
Sure.
It was a little stressful at times knowing that I had a few episodes. I wasn't sure if I wanted to push ahead with the story or not. Whenever a character's away, you're like, well, my plot, what am I going to do with the plot? Am I going to push forward and then try to explain after what happened to that character? So there was a stress involved with it for sure. especially when I wasn't sure about timing for the main campaign as it was. In the end, I guess it worked out because it pushed it to where it ended up, which was an okay spot. The preparation, in fact, was mixed bag. For the preparation for Buddy's flashback was less than I had for Lacy's flashback, and I think you'll be able to tell that if you watch them. I prepared a lot more for Lacy's flashback. I had more write-ups and more ideas for what was going to happen. And it was more challenging the second time I had to do a flashback. The first time I kind of just threw some ideas together. Would I do them deliberately? I think we did flashbacks in previous games, did we not? Did we not? Maybe we didn't. So then I did enjoy how it gave an opportunity for Lacy's character and Buddy's character to give some backstory. To tell you the truth, I chose both those characters because I was under the impression that both of them didn't have a huge backstory already written. So it gave me a lot more freedom to be creative. Whereas I knew that Lewis and Carver had already thought about the backstory and I didn't want to step on toes too much. So I might have been wrong with Buddy and Lacy, but that's how I felt.
You know, and I think that said, it actually makes a lot of sense because I did not have a lot of my backstory filled out, nor did Michael. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think that kind of goes into the next question.
I was going to say, I'm going to interrupt you, Alex, and read off the next question, which says, Lacy's character really evolved in episode 9. Was this something that Alex was aware of when he went into playing his character, or was it just much a surprise to him as it was to the viewers?
You know, this really actually emphasizes itself on the last post by Rich Brown there about commitment, etc., etc. With when it comes to gaming, and when it comes down to me, I'm a very I procrastinate to the 9th degree. I procrastinate to the end, and that comes with work, that comes with school, that comes with this game, of course. and so, you know, I did not have my character prepared, but I've always been as Chris knows, I've always been a person of
an improviser.
Yeah. Yes, improvisation. Yes, and so
I knew he could handle it. I'll take over. I knew he could handle it, and in the end, that was part of the thing. I was like, okay, if I do run with this, I know Alex can handle it. I know Harlan could have handled it. I know all these guys could have handled it, but I've seen Alex improvise, and I was curious about his character because it seemed he was, I mean, everyone felt this about Lacy. He was obviously out of place being that crazy character. We needed some explanation to why he was this way. And I think he humanized him. That's what I was going for. But I just want to also put that prior to me doing this, I didn't just do it and say, okay, I'm going to write a backstory for Lacy. I actually sent an email asking Alex if it would be okay for me to have a backstory involving torture, explaining why he's the way he is.
You asked permission.
I asked permission. Yeah.
During that week of deliberation, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to make this person crazy? And you know, thankfully to Chris, he had a storyline kind of built up already about how I was to become crazy, but I had to figure out why that would make me crazy. But
I think generally improv episodes like this are going to be really fun, and we'll probably do more. To Michael, are you the Sean Bean of the RPG world by choice, or do the dice just hate you?
I think it's a little bit of both. You've seen me roll. The dice do hate me. But honestly, I think it is a lot of just the way my characters end up being played, and it's just the way the world works sometimes.
You know what, though, actually, to add on to that, I think you, amongst anyone else, are the most likely to like throw yourself on the blade. I've seen you do it time and time again. So I think maybe you are a bit by choice. A question to the players regarding character creation. Did you spend time working at a backstory history, or was it more of a free-flowing thing? Well, that sort of was answered before. Alex, less so. I think, Mike, you had a rough concept, and you sort of allowed the flow of the game to create your personality. Is that fair?
It is very fair. I often, when I'm making the character sheet, I kind of visualize what I want the character to be, and I don't spend a lot of time making a backstory. I look at them mechanically. What do I want to be like in game? And again, online, I find it very different than around the table, because online now that we dress up a little bit, I look at what is my character wearing? Why does he have that? Why does he carry it with him?
True, like your bloody handkerchief, which anyone seeing that in your house would be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Or again, like the necklace from the Shoshone, Shoshone girlfriend. Come on, mate, I had that from game 1, and it just happened to come and play in the one of the other episodes.
The cigar and the hat, even.
Yeah.
Everything.
And so I think I don't do a lot of backstory, because I do like in game finding out reasons why he does the things he does. Because to me, that's part of the adventure.
And I tend to do that as well. I tend to do the in-game finding myself. Yeah. I tend to have a general idea of who I am and where I'm coming from, but I don't have a backstory planned out. Whereas Justin and Harlan,
well, that's part 2 of that question. Is clearly Carver and Lewis knew each other as youngins. Was that a fully fleshed out thing, or more of it would be cool to be bros back in the way? That actually was a really fully fleshed out thing, and part of the reason Chris didn't dive into that backstory was because I think it was a bit too fleshed out. Justin, did you want to?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it just we'd had it planned for a while, and we never actually got a chance. It was funny because they kept on having these flashback episodes. Like we went into Buddies, who didn't really have a backstory. We went into Alex or Lacey, who didn't really have a backstory, and the only ones who actually did have backstories were Lewis and Carver. So I thought it was funny after the last flashback if Lewis and Carver were riding on their horses, and they turned to one another and like, "So when are we going to tell our story, man?"
When's our backstory? Talk about that. I laughed at that. I felt bad.
Deadlands Game 2 is going to start off in a flashback. We've already decided that you won't even realize, and it will be us as the kids. Question for Chris: was the Deadlands world / storyline used in this campaign something purely of your own imagination, or did you use source material, or was it a design scenario?
It's always a combination, obviously. The source material is the Deadlands world. So Halton doesn't exist. Halton is my made-up world. The maze where Father Grimm in California does exist in the world. So does the Salt Lake City and Hellstrom. That whole area does exist, and so does the railroad. Halton itself is my own creation. So are all the characters in that world. Those are all my characters. So it's a combination.
I feel like this is a disclaimer.
In your own creation, what source of inspiration did you use to help visualize your world? And this is sort of a part 2 to that.
The biggest one at the time when I knew it was coming up, I was like, I got to watch some more Westerns. And I got into Hell on Wheels in a big way. So some of the names that I used were from Hell on Wheels, even though the characters weren't even close.
Was Charles from Hell on Wheels?
Charles wasn't, but I looked up. I was doing some research on the Utah accent, and that was part of it, is that they replace A's with O's and O's with A's. So I was like, let's have a character named Charles.
And I just thought you were being a wiener.
I was, but it was a little bit of column A, column B. So Hell on Wheels, I guess.
Very cool. Actually, I want to watch that show. It looks good. Chris, where's your GM turkey feather? Didn't you guys each get a large dyed feather that was supposed to be kept on screen wherever you take it to the role of GM, DM?
Well, it was. If you look back, is that Aisha asking?
No, Rich Brown, the new guy.
Rich Brown. If you go back, you will be eating your words in a second, because the entire game, it was sitting in my noose here on screen. So I hope you watch carefully from now on.
But you know what? And he's not wrong. And I specifically mentioned that this is something that Aisha and Bob, these were fantastic gifts. They are always in our eye line. They're just not on screen, and they should be. So
did you show yours? Don't show yours.
I'm sorry. I'm not a GM
Still
yet.
my time.
Yeah, you're right. At the end of this, he will ceremonially pass that off to Justin. Yeah. You'll see.
So I'll keep it in the screen, so that way you guys don't think I forgot about it.
Perfect. Question for Alex. Feel free to no comment, although you won't. This question is to avoid potential spoilers. But now that it's confirmed that Lacy has the spark, does this mean he might find a way to start traversing different worlds? Could we potentially see Lacy and Effort teaming up like some bizarro world buddy cop identical twin movie?
It's a well-put question. No comment.
No comment. All right, fair enough. Well, to aid to that, because Alex so far hasn't run any campaigns. Everything's possible. Everything is possible with us. There's many stuff we want to do.
Yeah, keep watching. I mean, you're going to see more and more how the big world is happening. The stuff is going on.
Lots of stuff. A great question from, I believe, Sarah in the YouTube chat is, how do you develop such good role-playing in the group? Thank you. Even being good at role-playing as individuals, any tips for newbies? So great question. And I will start because I haven't answered too many questions just yet, or maybe I have. Who fucking cares? Obviously, the big benefit to us is that we're friends and we kind of get each other's dynamics in a large part. But I think at the core, our role-playing style is a lot different than other role-playing groups. They'll usually put rules first and all that kind of stuff. We're very much about the acting element, and that's, I think, what at least me personally, I really enjoy about it. I enjoy kind of creating a character, and I enjoy trying to entertain rather than worrying too much about sort of winning every scenario, although I do try. But that's sort of me, and playing off, I think, is the friendship. What about you, Justin?
Definitely. Well, I think that Alex will agree with me. Like, one of the improv rules, one of the first rules of improv is saying yes. Being able to provide good ideas, and then someone else in the group being able to say yes to those ideas. And those ideas are all in the effort of creating the best story possible. So it takes a lot of trust. It takes trust from the GM to trust that the players are going to suggest things that he can say yes to, suggest things that aren't like ridiculous that will throw the entire story. And it takes trust for the players to feel like their ideas are going to be valued and are actually going to add to the story. So being able to have that relationship, that trust with the other players is, I think, more important than, I mean, how many movies you've seen, how great you are at doing accents.
Whoa. This is like, that's just definition of Harlan.
Thank you, Justin. That's right.
Or knowing movies, or being... Why don't you just say more important than Harlan? Why don't you just say that?
Well, more important than your red shirt.
Yeah, red shirt. Yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying.
You know what I found, and I've as I'm growing as a role player, even as a GM, you have to role play a lot. If you're trying to make the other person look good, in the end, it'll be a better game. Don't, at the beginning, if you watch Dragon Age Part 1, I didn't have that mindset necessarily all the time. And it hindered the game sometimes. So if you try to make the other people look good, in the end, both your character will look good, the story will be richer, and it's, again, just saying yes to things.
I agree. And in that vein, it would even go more broad and say the story, because I think you subconsciously let other players look good when you're benefiting the story, you know, letting other people go and doing stuff like that. Michael,
actually,
Alex?
I'm going to weigh in on that too. Sorry, Alex, you go ahead and go first.
No. Go, Mike.
I was going to say, in the actual terms of role playing, though, I think like anything in life, it's a skill, and you're going to try different styles. Some of them will work for you, some of them will not. But I think the dynamics of the group, and this is more about life in general, any sort of relationship you have, if you want the relationship to work, you got to let yourself be vulnerable, and you got to trust the people to trust with your vulnerability.
I agree with
sometimes it will pay off and sometimes it will not, and you just learn not to trust those people again. And I think we're very, very fortunate that we do really passionately care about each other as well.
Definitely. And just to tack on that really, really quickly, that there are going to be some groups where you feel like your role playing is lacking, and it might not be fault of your own, because you might go to another group that just for some reason they bring it out of you. And like Chris said, if they're trying to make you feel good or you look good as your character, then that's going to feel great. Sorry, Alex.
No, and all I was going to add was this is so lame, but you know what? Have fun. You know, that's the number one thing. Have fun. Be the person that you are never ever gonna be in real life, because that's what I try to do every time. I try to be the person I'm never ever gonna be.
I only do that during End of the World.
Exactly. I do that too, but you
How
know
do
what?
I want to believe that I'd behave?
In these games, I try to be the person that I would never ever be in real life.
Well, so a few quick ones. Chris, why ticks?
Ticks are gross, but more importantly, I had a scenario that was called the Bee in the Barrel that I originally wrote, and so I adopted it for this. And there was already prairie ticks within the world of Deadlands, so I adopted the Prairie Ticks and merged it with a campaign that I always wanted to run, and that's how we got to Ticks.
What a fantastic campaign!
Oh, and I also once watched a Star Trek episode where there were these creatures that crawled in and took over the people, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's do that.
Also, the Wrath of Khan.
I remember that. After playing Deadlands, would you be interested in playing another game from the same system in the future? Personally, yeah.
Yeah, I really like it actually.
There's a lot of good things.
Admittedly, yeah. Admittedly, it's not like. Here's my thing. I actually really like the Savage Worlds system. I think the combat in Savage Worlds is probably one of my favorite. Right up next to D&D. Setting wise, I like it, but Chris and I were talking about this. I find it a bit restricting, because there's not that much you can really, like, based on this campaign, you can do towns and mines and,
maybe big cities.
Maybe big cities, and that's sort of it. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just very specific to the genre.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a negative in really. It's just if you're doing a Deadlands, it's much more limiting. You sort of have, like in this one, and again, it's not a criticism, but we spend a lot of time in Halton, the same town, because there's not that much else to go. And
that being said, Savage Worlds, the system we could use again for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. Savage Worlds, I would totally use again because I love the combat. But Deadlands itself, yeah, I would still play it again. I would love to revisit these characters. Me personally, though,
we should talk about like some of the. I mean, you use cards. That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. The bennies.
You have toughness, which is something that's not really involved in other things. You have the exploding dice. That's a cool system. It's a lot of cool stuff.
Even being stunned or whatever it is.
Yeah, shaken versus wounds.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's fast combat. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Can Michael keep growing out his beard and then DM the Christmas special this year? Whoa! And then DM the Christmas special?
No.
Well, can you keep growing the beard though? I agree with that, but I want to.
No, because I was gonna shave it because Imogen's just a young boy.
Yes.
He is.
That's true.
But isn't he an elf?
And very little facial hair. He's an elf.
The Christmas special lands on either the 21st, the 21st this year. So, well, maybe you can do it. That's fine.
You can still grow it out all the same and not.
Yeah, just grow it all the same. That's what I'm thinking. Godpool asked us, I'm wondering whether any of you have run a totally homebrewed campaign. I personally really like creating my own worlds and personally only use the system rulebooks as loose guidelines. Yeah, we all do that. I think Draft Askew Secret, Mike, was what, like 90% yours? Homebrew?
The campaign, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think all ours have been
I would say
homebrew.
Oh, let me think. Yeah. Everything we've run is
use the section in Call of Cthulhu that was written.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu, of the 10 parts, section 3 was almost entirely a module just because I wanted to give myself space. Everything else was my own creation. Everything else. Characters,
none of these are mods.
Yeah, no, none of these are mods. Anyone who's watched us for a while knows we suck at following.
Oh, no, again, Siege and Arrow. Siege and Arrow was given to us by.
That's right, Quest Corps guys. Yeah, but that wasn't really a campaign.
Games.
That was
that
was
a one-off. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one-off. But no, we're come on.
Sage.
How do I encourage others to want to do that? This is in relation to Sarah's first question about the sort of improvisational role-playing, how we get along. She said, how can I encourage others to do that? Or is it sort of just getting lucky with the group that you end up with? And you know what? I think Michael really touched on this. Well, that helps. But I think Michael actually kind of nailed this, in my opinion. And it's being vulnerable. I think there's two types of people, they'll either laugh at you or they'll laugh with you. And if you put yourself out there and you sort of go the extra mile and, if you're playing with characters that play in the third person and then you all of a sudden start breaking out and you don't worry so much and you lose your, and you have a bit of confidence and you start playing, I wouldn't be surprised if most of those people start adapting your way. It's the big thing is self-conscious. A lot of people are concerned about how they're being seen. And that's
contact Chris Lawrence. We have a great community here. I'm sure you'll find opportunities here that you can play with people.
Absolutely.
And people boost each other. Another thing is, if you have a group, look for opportunities to do things aside from gaming with them. Get to know them. Get to know, have deeper conversations aside from it, so that way you can be more vulnerable.
That is a great point, because I also agree with sort of with us as well. And this sounds like a negative, but we have arguments, which I think arguments are always so important to growing, because you have to. Well, and Dragon Age, we'll have we can use this as an example. I think we've all increased our role-playing ability, especially Chris and I, for the disagreements that our characters have had. And I played Grinner, which was sort of a rough character, and he's playing Pens, which was sort of a rough character. And from that, we had arguments and we grew. And now I don't think, well, I shouldn't say it because we haven't put it again yet.
Alex?
I wanted to add that, Justin, Chris, and myself, I could be wrong about you three and you two and myself. We did drama in school, and one of the big things was, break down that wall and have that ridiculous kind of conversation with each other. And you know what? I think that maybe what might help with a RPG scenario would be initially start off with something as simple as a ridiculous sort of scenario where you're all playing different characters. You could be. I look at the Monty Python people, for instance. They are always playing ridiculous characters. Just
I think it's a reiteration of what Michael was saying and I was saying about being
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And do it. And
yeah.
So Bob Lyle asked, Bob Lyle asked, are you running the same characters from the first time you played Dragon Age? Simple answer is yes. We are all playing the same characters. You call me a dick all you want.
I'm just
got
saying,
a lot of questions.
You know what?
I know,
all
but
I'm
you're
saying is that,
Remember we talked about arguments?
No. You know what, Harl? Fuck off. This is a matter of you have to actually put yourself in a position where
of being vulnerable.
I definitely do agree.
No.
And you know what? But
you and your friends are doing a game. Have a game. Do the Shatner game where everybody. You know what? Justin and I were talking about this. The Shatner game where everybody acts like Shatner. All of a sudden, it's like just do the Shatner. If you throw a scenario and say, okay, your house is catching on fire, and then you throw a Shatner scenario, and then everybody goes,
how you do it.
Oh, how do I act like Shatner while my house is burning down? Oh, I'm a Shatner. Like you do it how you want to.
That's exactly it. That's
the end of the game is this is improv, right? That's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, I'll just add to that. There are certain games that do tailor better to trying it out with a new group of players that they might be more interested in than starting off with like Dungeons and Dragons or Dragon Age or something that they don't know the lore about.
And
for an example of
improv games.
Improv games, or just try End of the World RPG. I mean, that's
for sure
one to start with.
So, are we playing the same Dragon Age characters? Yes, we're all playing the same Dragon Age characters. When can we expect an End of the World Robots one-off? Shortly. The truth is, we have sort of blocked ourselves off because we like to finish them off sort of before the end of the year, the 10 parts. So there's one or two times that you're going to see something. And the second question is, when is Justin going to do another Running Dead? I think the answer is probably the same. When we have time.
We have time.
We got a couple days that might require something like that.
That's very true. To Chris Viseau, I always ask, but I'm always curious. Was there something that the players did in your game that baffled you or surprised you this campaign?
There's lots of things, whether it was small or large, but I'll go to some of the larger ones. The biggest first one was when they went to the Shoshone. Didn't expect that. Most of that was improvised. I had some ideas, but more or less that was improvised, and I think it was great. It was cool because it allowed us to develop some other ideas and get some character creation. Their reactions to things at the end, killing off Ezra. I'm not saying that it was bad decision making at all. It was just rolling with the punches. I didn't see it going that way, and there were certain things that they found out that I never. There was one campaign where I think Grinner went and talked to Halton, and he got a lot of really cool information. I'm really glad that happened, but I didn't see it happening, and so yeah, there were some things that happened that I didn't expect.
Very cool. So, Godpool asked, have you ever attempted to make your own system? Since I aim to go into game development and I really like RPGs, I find it fun to create stuff like that. Mike, you actually tried to do that, didn't you, for Supernatural? And you were doing one for Draftsky, were you not?
Oh,
and you're muted.
Oh, fuck, he says.
Yeah. By and large, Draftsky's secret was D&D 5e with some of the options out of the Dungeon Master's Handbook that I put up the polls and said, what do you guys want to see us do with it? So I built, once I had the answers, I was like, okay, how do I now make that into a campaign? And coming through it, because it was a very low magic setting, I was like, okay, how do I give the guys a chance against the monsters? And that's when I went to the Supernatural. Where am I here? But so yes, actually, I have been playing a little bit of a Supernatural campaign at home with some people here, and it's still largely D&D 5e based on a more modern setting.
Well, if you do get something, if you do get a system getting going, and you want some play testers, I'm sure you can find some on our stream for sure. Yeah, let us know how it's going.
Yeah, for sure. And there was sort of a part two. Has Michael continued to work on his Supernatural homebrew game that he mentioned he had been inspired to start working on after the Supernatural TV show to help build Draftsky's secret?
Yeah, I just answered that.
I know. I just wanted you to know that question was asked.
TV shows.
Bob asks, Alex, can you tell us more about the Shatner?
Bob, what a shit disturber.
This is a real simple game. The simple improv game where you come on stage, and as soon as someone shouts, you do a simple scene, right, Justin? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You do a simple scene where John walks in and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden someone yells Shatner, and you have to all of a sudden act like Shatner. It's like, where is the common ground of the store? I'm not really sure where I'm looking. Are you? And that is the game of Shatner. It's really a matter of not so much RPG, but more improv, in the sense that you have to really be on your game. And you know what? I would 100% of the time recommend that anybody that wants to do RPG, do some improv, have some fun with improv friends. Do a game or two. Watch whose line is it anyways. Do the Shatner thing. Do the anger thing. Yeah, there's one game that I love, which is always like change the attitude, which is you do one game normal, you do one game angry, you would do one game sad, you do one game frustrated. You just keep on changing it. And it's a matter of the improv. That is what I would recommend you continue. Do it. Yeah.
All right. Sarah asked,
Try to make it quick and not elongated.
You do you, man. These are the people they want. How do you guys feel about diceless games? I love diceless games. The problem with diceless games, at least the ones that have really neat mechanics, in my opinion, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, like Dread or 10 Candles and things like that. If that's what you're talking about, the problem is the mechanics that they have don't translate well onto a stream. Like I would love to do Dread, but you need a Jenga tower. In fact, we had a lot of conversations about how to deal with the cards for Deadlands, because you're all meant to be drawing from one deck, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't pulling four jokers in a row and things like that. But I would love to, personally.
If it isn't about like the Jenga sets and things like that, if it's about just playing games without dice, honestly,
like roll for shoes, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, but personally I find that it pushes you as a role player to have dice, because your decisions aren't always gonna, like, just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it should work. You should be pushed to go, hey, and it also takes it out of the hand of like, why didn't you let my idea work, right? It changes the power dynamic.
And I very much like when we do screw up, when we get a 1 or we get a 20, then it gets often sent back to us of, okay, so describe that to me, right? So it's like, okay, so you got a 1. What happens?
You failed miserably.
You're
Yeah.
forced
What happens?
into role playing that you wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have even thought of if you hadn't rolled a 1. So
Play it out.
Paul asked, are you considering some more cipher system based campaigns? Definitely. There's a few worlds that we've left behind that we want to visit again, let's say that. But we're not going to play Invisible Sun, let's say that. For other reasons. Good. Unless I'm assuming that's an answer that suits all of us. We'll visit.
Yeah, I mean, I had so much fun DMing Numenera.
Oh yeah, and I had a blast with the Strange.
I love the Numenera. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Paul asked, Phoenix Dawn Command is a relatively new. Oh, that's not a question. Phoenix Dawn Command is a relatively new diceless game, FYI. Can we ever expect a campaign leading up to Halloween, or perhaps just a Halloween-themed game like the Christmas special? You know what? Yeah, they're actually... Did it work out this time? We had talked about that, and I had a really cool system in mind for doing a Halloween game. If Halloween ever lands on a Wednesday, you better bet that we will. I don't know about this year, though.
Hold on to your butts.
well, I mean,
What?
maybe if people are free. Let's see, what day is it on? It's on a Monday.
Yeah.
Halloween's on a Monday, but you could do a stream on the Wednesday.
The prior Wednesday we could do a week to Halloween.
Well, we will be doing a
Random.
stream on the Wednesday. It just might not be Halloween.
Wednesday, October the 5th. I mean, there's gonna be-
Maybe.
We'll think about it.
Yeah.
If you guys really want it,
We
we'll
could
do it.
do. I mean, we could always do like a Sunday stream or maybe a Monday stream. I don't know. Yeah, if you guys
Let's just
want it,
get
let us
together.
know.
We can get together and play Atmosphere. We'll just record ourselves.
Atmosphere.
The Harbingers are coming.
Let's be honest. Who's available during the Wednesday, October the 31st stream?
It's
Who's
Monday,
not going
October
to be handing out?
31st.
Who's not going to be handing out?
We all are going to be. Harlan, how does it feel to be the man without a plan and them hand cannons? I don't know what that means. It feels good.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the hand cannons. I guess he means at the end without a plan. It sucked. Thanks, Godpool. I usually like to at least learn a bit of information, before that sort of final confrontation. So you get that sort of, that nice little, oh, okay, this is how it ended. And we got that to an extent with Ezra. We knew that we failed and all that kind of stuff. If that's what you're talking to at the end.
Let's just put it this way: I had a whole bunch planned that Ezra was gonna tell you.
A man. He's talking about my tag, the man with no plan.
Oh yeah.
Which is fair because at the end, most of the time, 90% of the time when I go into a scenario, I do not have a plan. I usually have an idea, and I'm like, well, we'll see what happens with that. But I think it works out pretty good in my favor for the most part. Mike Kyle asked, did you buy your props, guns, clothes for the game, or did you already have them? Sad to admit that I bought 90% of mine for the game. Woo! That's how much I care about you guys.
I bought this hat. Justin bought his hat. I bought my hat.
I bought my hat from a secondhand store.
Mine was
$10.
at Value Village. Mine was $10 also.
That's where I got mine, Value Village.
70. I paid $70.
But you can wear that everywhere.
Yeah, I paid a lot more for my hat too because I have a huge head, so I needed one that would fit.
Yeah,
the material alone.
Huge head.
3 cows for that puppy.
Yep. That's so yeah. No, we buy stuff. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna wear for Dragon Age.
Oh, I brought this rope for this game too. I was like, oh, I want a noose in the background. It's like, oh, I'll get a rope
just in case he wants to hang himself.
I have
the game didn't go well. Thank goodness it went well.
I have a Viking helmet if you want it.
He's talking about his
and if you want it.
I bought that as well.
Aisha asked, or she said, I don't feel like we learned the origins of Lewis's powers, will we? And again, if we touch on this game again, there was a lot in Chris's story as well as our characters' backgrounds, Carver and Lewis's backgrounds, that you didn't know. There was actually some neat sub story there, which was just too tough to get into, to be honest. It was very detailed.
And if you're interested, the neat thing about Deadlands is one thing we didn't touch on, is that the Marshal's Handbook is only for the Marshal's eyes only, and there's a whole bunch of secret background knowledge that about that whole thing and about the hucksters that even Justin didn't know. So there's things going on. Like if he had failed that talking to the his source at the end there, yeah, something could have happened and it would have been interesting. But
well,
read up on it.
Technically, and this is something that I would have used my legendary chip on, which I didn't, but because I used a Joker, you're actually supposed to. That's supposed to happen anyways. If I have to use a Joker to force my hand, then something.
Oh man! Roll a 1d20 right now. I just want to see what would have happened.
1d20, eh?
Oh, you gotta roll a 20. What?
A 5.
Oh,
so
5.
This
okay,
would have been the time.
Lame-o.
This would have been the time where I would have been like, "Oh, Manitou, that's not how this works."
It's like when you're leaving the casino.
Alex,
and
one
you're
second.
like,
Alex, 1 second. When I hold up my black chip, and I say, "That's not how this works, Manitou," and I pass the black chip across the table and roll again.
What'd you roll? A 5?
And I roll a natural 1, and I say, "Shit, this is gonna happen even worse."
So this is why it's important for us to know the rules a little bit better. Backfire table effect: brain drain. The Manitou fries part of the huckster's mind with energy from the hunting grounds. He's shaken for 1 to 6 rounds before he can attempt to recover, and his spellcasting drops a die type for 24 hours. That's not too bad. There's worse ones. There's ones that you just die.
Yeah.
This question's
worse with the casino. Go on.
This question's for Justin. How do you like to make your characters, Justin? I really liked how you developed Frank in Call of Cthulhu, and that has somewhat inspired me with some of my NPC creations for the upcoming campaign I'm working on.
Well, funny you mentioned Frank. Frank was one of the characters where I had a lot of, I guess, involvement with the GM, talking to the GM and working with the GM about the backstory, which I think can really bring a character into a campaign when the GM is on board with the backstory and has ideas of how to connect the character. Wouldn't you say, Harlan? Like you had a hand.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Frank. Definitely. So.
Yeah, it was fun that way, though.
Yeah,
I would say did Call of Cthulhu a different way than everything else, actually, because I think Call of Cthulhu, I let you guys pick the occupation and the name, but the backstories, I think I assigned you parts of them, didn't I? Like I told you what you needed.
Yeah, I don't think that you knew that. Like, I think I got to choose that my wife. It was my wife that I'd lost.
I can't remember now because I know I wanted to go about the character creation a little different than typical Call of Cthulhu and RPGs, which because I wanted to really sort of make them integral to the plot.
No, you did ask us, and you're like, think of something that happened to your character that draws them to the darkness. And with mine, you're like, no, that's too dark.
Oh yeah,
you're like, I'm thinking this, and I was like, okay,
you got really dark. I remember that. And I was like, no, you got to be savable.
You cannot bring that other boy into the woods and swallow his heart.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you, regardless, you definitely brought Frank through, and you did do the backstory for sure, that the wife being gone, and you kind of breathed life into him, as well as the homeless people, the homeless whisperer. Do you guys ever think of putting something in the background as a little hint for the games you run? Why, yes, we do. No, the problem is, I think you guys would figure it out right away if I put it, especially if.
Yeah, we might do that. We'll have the cupcakes. Or not cupcakes. What are they called?
Cupcakes.
Cookies?
Cookies.
What are you talking about?
I'm hungry. Cookies.
Honestly, I think in one or two of the videos from Deadlands, I may have had one.
What, hints in the background?
Yeah, I do. I think I might have
and
had one.
All our other videos too, so go watch them.
Yeah, go watch all of them.
I'd like them while you're there. But yeah, the cupcakes are for Made RPG, right?
Oh, that's
right. Easter eggs. There we go. How about Easter eggs?
Oh, Easter eggs.
That's what I was trying to say.
All right, cookies.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, we're cool. We're hip techno.
Tired.
Mike Kyle asks, Chris, what are all those books behind you? He's a bookworm, so he's curious. Read off a few of those.
We got like a lot of stuff from our. Oh, this side's like university. The
Thomas.
big ones here are here.
They're all fake, aren't they? Let's be honest.
These ones are
Honest,
awesome.
like-
So they're like actually gold. That's Huckleberry Finn. So these are all like the top 100 books, and I got these at a garage sale. They're like a collector's item. I haven't read them. I've read the other ones.
I think you showed me that actually when you got them.
I looked these up and I
Let's be honest.
They're like,
let's be honest. They're
like-
bad. They're like learn to sell by
Don't worry, I got them.
yeah. So I got like Sherlock Holmes, Tale of Two Cities, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, Shakespeare, and then all my like university stuff. So like music theory and stuff like that over there.
He bought them for the stream.
I just wanted to look smart, so I put them there.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Never touch them.
Who needs to? Reading. Ha. All right. Well, that is all the questions that I see. So I think we are going to call it there. Once again. Oh, actually, sorry. Let's really quickly, Justin, do you want to give us maybe a bit of a taste on what's coming up with Dragon Age?
Tris, don't you want to handle something?
I got a hand.
Oh, sorry. First, let's hand that off.
We need music.
I don't have it queued up.
I can't.
My Little
Okay,
Mermaid.
grab it. There it is.
Oh,
and you have it now. We go off screen. He's got it. There it is.
Oh, wow. Thank you
There we
so much, Chris.
No worries.
Excellent job as GM for Deadlands. I hope that I can follow in your footsteps.
Oh, you can do good.
We have run Dragon Age. Oh, 1 second. We have run Dragon Age in the past. It was the first game that we ever run. And I would say that maybe we've learned a thing or two since we ran the first campaign. So just a little bit about the game itself. It is created by Green Roan Publishing. Chris Pramas is the head writer of it. And it uses a system called the Fantasy Age system, which is a very simple system that all you use are 3d6s. And of course, I can't find my 3d6s right now.
We do have digital ones.
We have digital ones. So basically, for any ability checks, you roll ability checks just like you would in any other game. But you just roll the 3d6 and you add the number. And if it's above the threshold, you do what you want to do. But what's interesting about the Fantasy Age system is that one of the die is a special die. And in Dragon Age, it's called your dragon die. So if I were able to show you my 3 die right now, 2 of them would be white, 1 of them is red. And depending on what number you get on that red die determines whether or not you're able to do special stunts, which are things like knocking the enemy prone, attacking twice, things like that. So that's the system itself. As for the storyline, I'm really excited to get back to our origins. Our Dragon Age Origins, which is also the name of the video game, and re-encounter Penth, who is Chris's character, Grinner, who is Harlan's character, and Imogen. And this campaign starts 3 months after the last Dragon Age campaign. And if you remember or have watched what happened at the end, I highly suggest you go back and at least watch the last few episodes. You'll get to know the characters a little bit, and you'll get to see what happened, because it's very important. This next campaign is going to focus on what happened to one of the characters. I'm not going to say who right now, but one of the characters was affected greatly by the big bad guy from the last campaign. So without giving too much away, I hope that you will tune in next week for part 1 of Dragon Age Season 2.
I don't know where we lost Harlan.
Sorry, I got excited. No, very cool. And awesome, Justin. Thank you for giving us a bit of that intro. If you haven't watched Dragon Age, go watch it. It's a bit rough because it's our first one. Admittedly so.
But that's some really interesting moments.
It did. Oh yeah, and I mean, yeah. I think all of our characters were very interesting, extreme versions of ourselves. I've been watching and listening, and Justin's been telling me about how I played Grinner and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't really know how I'm going to play him. He's apparently an asshole, so I got to figure out exactly.
Extreme versions of ourselves.
They're extreme asshole versions of ourselves. So we'll figure it out. I don't really know. Maybe I might just have to change him, but we'll figure it out. So I'm excited for that. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to Chris once again for doing such an awesome, fantastic job.
Thank you guys.
Thank you again to Justin for giving us that little intro in Dragon Age, and we wish him the best of luck for his future endeavors. We also want to give our buddy boy Mike a little bit of well wishes. I don't know how much Mike is choosing to share, but Mike,
I don't care. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we won't go into specifics, but Mike is going in for a very minor operation next week. Before the stream, he'll be here for the first game. Hopefully, nobody will be here for the game.
All things go well.
All things go well. No, but so send your well wishes to our Mr. Beautiful Mike here, because he is going a little bit.
Be the stream without him, that's for sure.
Definitely won't be the stream without him. It'd be too awkward. Who the hell are we going to get to play purple? No, Mike, we wish you well and speedy recovery and all that stuff, and we will be with you in spirit, and I'll be with you driving you to the hospital, obviously. Thank you guys once again for being with us through the game. Thank you for being through us with the post-game discussion. Alex, I guess, got bored. So have a great night, everybody. Thank you guys for being here, and as Chris always likes to say,
See you around the table.
We'll see you around the table, guys. Good night.